I ignored my family for success. This is my regret, part 1. The young man's dreams. The smell of burnt coffee is still fresh in my mind. That morning, in our tiny kitchen, my wife Sarah, 7 months pregnant, stood by the counter while I leaned over the classified section of the newspaper, circling job ads with a red pen that was running out of ink. "Michael, breakfast is ready," she said softly. Without looking up, I mumbled, "Just a minute, honey. Let me finish this section." That minute would become the story of my life. I didn't know that then. How could I have known? I was 27, ambitious, and wanted more than the factory job I'd had since college. I wanted to give Sarah everything. I wanted to be a good father, a good husband, a good man, but I also wanted to be successful. It never occurred to me that these two things would be at odds with each other. Sarah placed the plate next to me. Scrambled eggs, toast, a slice of tomato cut into a perfect circle. She sometimes did that, making ordinary things more special, with little details. I should have paid more attention. I should have looked up from the newspaper and really seen her swollen ankles, how she held her back when she thought I wasn't looking. "I have a doctor's appointment today," she said, pouring herself some orange juice. "Just a routine checkup. Will you come with me?" I bit my lip. That day, I had a job interview at Henderson & Associates, a medium-sized consulting firm in the city center. It wasn't a sure thing, but it was my best chance to break into this field. The kind of job that could change the course of our lives. "What time?" I asked, still not looking into his eyes. 11. My interview was at 11:30. I did the math in my head. The clinic was 15 minutes away. Appointments always ran late. There was no way I could do both. "I'm sorry," I said, and I meant it. "I have that interview today, the important one, remember?" She nodded slowly, took a sip of her juice. "I remember." "It's just a routine appointment, right? Everything's been fine." "Yeah," she said quietly, "everything's fine." I reached over and squeezed her hand. "I'll make it up to you. When I get this job, we'll celebrate. Somewhere nice. Your choice." She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Good luck today." I got the job. 2 weeks later, I started at Henderson & Associates as a junior consultant. The pay was 40% more than what I'd been making. Sarah was thrilled. I was thrilled. We went to that nice restaurant I'd promised, an Italian place with cloth napkins and wine glasses that sparkled under dim lighting. "To new beginnings," she said, raising her water glass. "To our future," I replied. Our son Daniel was born 6 weeks later, on a Tuesday morning. I was in the middle of a client presentation when Sarah's water broke. Her mother called me at the office. "Michael, the baby's coming," she said, breathless. "We're heading to the hospital now." My hands went cold. "I'm on my way." But I wasn't. Not immediately. The presentation was only half done. The client, a major retail chain, was there with their full executive team. My boss, Richard Henderson himself, was in the room. This was my chance to prove myself, to show I belonged. I stood there, phone in hand, paralyzed. Richard noticed. "Everything okay?" "My wife," I said. "She's in labor." He smiled, clapped me on the shoulder. "Congratulations. Go. We'll reschedule." But the client interjected. "Actually, we're flying back to Atlanta tonight. This is our only window." Richard looked at me. Not unkindly, but measuring, calculating. "Your call, Mike." I made the call. I finished the presentation. It took another 90 minutes. By the time I got to the hospital, Daniel had already been born. 8 pounds, 3 ounces. Perfect, in every way. Sarah was exhausted, her hair damp with sweat, holding our son against her chest. Her mother sat beside the bed, and when I walked in, the look she gave me could have frozen water. "You're here," Sarah said. No anger in her voice, just statement of fact. "I'm sorry," I said, rushing to her side. The presentation ran long. I got here as fast as I could. She didn't say anything, just looked down at Daniel, stroked his tiny hand. I held my son for the first time that afternoon. He was so small, so fragile. His eyes were closed, his mouth working in his sleep. I felt something crack open inside me, something vast and terrifying and beautiful all at once. "I'll be better," I whispered to him. "I promise." But promises are easy when you don't know what they cost. The first year of Daniel's life passed in a blur. I was working 60, 70-hour weeks. Henderson and Associates rewarded hard work, and I was determined to climb. Sarah stayed home with the baby. We'd agreed it made sense financially, though I don't think we really discussed what it would mean for her. What she'd be giving up. Her friends, her art classes, the small freedoms that make a day bearable. I'd come home late most nights. Daniel would already be asleep. Sarah would be on the couch, a book in her lap. Though I suspected she wasn't really reading, just waiting. "How was your day?" I'd ask, loosening my tie. "Fine," she'd say. "Daniel okay?" "He's good. He rolled over today, from his back to his tummy." "That's great," I'd say, heading toward the shower. "Did you get it on video?" I tried, but my phone died. I nodded, disappointed but trying not to show it. "Next time." There were so many next times I missed. His first word was "Dada," but I didn't hear it. Sarah told me about it over dinner, her voice careful, like she was trying to make it sound more special than it had felt to relay secondhand. His first steps happened on a Saturday afternoon while I was at the office. We'd landed a big account, and the team was celebrating. Drinks at a bar downtown. My boss bought a round. "To Michael," he said, raising his glass. "Our rising star." I smiled, felt the warmth of belonging, of recognition. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Sarah's text. "He's walking. Wish you were here to see it." I typed back quickly. "That's amazing. I'll be home soon." But I stayed another hour, then another. By the time I got home, Daniel was asleep again. Sarah was loading the dishwasher, her movements mechanical. "I'm sorry I missed it," I said. "It's okay," she replied without turning around. "No, really, I wish I'd been there." She turned off the water, dried her hands slowly. "Michael, do you ever think about slowing down?" "What do you mean?" "The job, the hours, you're never here." "I'm building something," I said, defensive. "For us, for Daniel. I'm doing this for our family." She looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. "Are you?" The question hung in the air between us. I didn't have an answer that didn't sound hollow, even to me. "I'll try to be home more," I said finally. It was another promise I wouldn't keep. By the time Daniel was 2, I'd been promoted twice. We'd moved out of the apartment into a house in the suburbs. 3 bedrooms, a yard, a garage. Sarah decorated it beautifully, turned it into a home. I barely noticed. I was too busy traveling for work, meeting clients in different cities, building my reputation as someone who could close deals. Sarah got pregnant again. We hadn't planned it, but we were both happy about it. A sibling for Daniel, our family expanding. "Maybe this time," she said one night as we lay in bed. "You'll be there when the baby comes." "I will," I promised. "I won't make the same mistake twice." Our daughter Emma was born on a Thursday. I was in Chicago for a conference. My phone rang at 3 in the morning. Sarah's mother again. "It's happening," she said. "The baby's coming." I looked at my watch. The keynote speech I was supposed to give was in 6 hours. I'd been preparing for weeks. It was a huge opportunity, a chance to speak in front of industry leaders. "I'll get the first flight out," I said. But there were no flights until 6 a.m. By the time I landed, rented a car, fought through traffic, Emma had been born for almost 4 hours. Another healthy baby, 7 pounds, 6 ounces, a head full of dark hair. Sarah was asleep when I arrived. Her mother was holding Emma, feeding her from a bottle. She tried to wait, her mother said coldly. "But labor doesn't wait for anyone. I got here as soon as I could." "That seems to be your specialty, getting here when it's already over." I didn't argue. What could I say? She was right. When Sarah woke up, she didn't cry, didn't yell, just looked at me with tired eyes. "You missed it again," she said. "I know, I'm so sorry." She handed me Emma. "This is your daughter." I held her, this perfect little person, and felt the same crack I'd felt with Daniel. The same overwhelming love mixed with overwhelming guilt. I was missing everything that mattered. But I told myself it was temporary. A few more years of hard work, then I'd slow down. Then I'd be present. That's what I told myself for the next 15 years. The years blurred together. Work consumed me. I traveled constantly. Sarah raised our children essentially alone. She took them to school, to doctor's appointments, to birthday parties and playgrounds and all the small moments that build a childhood. I was there for the big things, I told myself. Christmas morning, their birthdays. Well, most of their birthdays. I tried, but there was always something, a client emergency, a deadline, a trip that couldn't be rescheduled. Daniel's 6th birthday fell on the same day as a critical board meeting. I'd promised him we'd go to the zoo, just the two of us. He'd been talking about it for weeks. "Daddy, will you really come?" he asked the night before, his eyes wide with hope. "Of course," I said, ruffling his hair. "I promised, didn't I?" But the next morning, my boss called. "Mike, we need you at the board meeting. Johnson's numbers don't add up. You're the only one who knows the account inside and out. I have plans with my son today." "I understand, but this is important. The board's already assembled. We're talking about a multi-million-dollar account." I looked at Daniel, sitting at the breakfast table in his favorite dinosaur shirt, the one he'd picked out specifically for our zoo trip. "I have to go to work," I told him. His face fell. "But you promised." "I know, buddy. I'm sorry. We'll go next weekend. I promise." Sarah stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "You promised last time too." "This is different. This is unavoidable." "It's always unavoidable," she said quietly. I went to the meeting. Daniel went to the zoo with Sarah and Emma and Sarah's mother. That night, when I got home, he wouldn't talk to me. He went straight to his room, closed the door. I stood outside for a moment, hand on the doorknob, but I didn't go in. Told myself he'd get over it. Kids are resilient. That became my excuse for everything. Kids are resilient. They'll understand someday. They'll thank me for providing for them. But kids don't want provision. They want presence. And I was never there. Emma's school plays, Daniel's soccer games, parent-teacher conferences, science fairs. I missed most of them. Sarah went alone. Smiled for both of us, made excuses. Dad's working. Dad's traveling. Dad really wanted to be here. The other parents knew. I could see it in their eyes at the rare events I did attend. Pity for Sarah, judgment for me, but I didn't care. I was important. I was building something. I was successful. By the time I was 40, I was a senior partner at Henderson and Associates. 6-figure salary, stock options, a corner office with a view of the city. I'd made it. Everything I'd worked for. But my marriage was dying. Sarah and I barely spoke anymore. When we did, it was logistics, bills, schedules, repairs the house needed. We slept in the same bed but lived in different worlds. Daniel was 12, sullen and distant. He'd learned early that I couldn't be counted on, so he stopped counting on me. Stopped asking me to come to his games. Stopped showing me his report cards. Stopped trying. Emma was 8, still young enough to hope. But I was wearing down that hope too, one missed promise at a time. "Daddy, will you help me with my science project?" she asked one evening. "Not tonight, sweetheart. Daddy's tired." "What about tomorrow?" "We'll see." We'll see, the ultimate non-commitment. The soft no that lets you pretend you're not really saying no. She stopped asking too, eventually. I told myself it was okay. They were fine. Sarah was handling things. The kids had everything they needed. Good schools, nice clothes, a comfortable home. What more could they want? They wanted me. But I didn't understand that until it was too late. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. Ordinary in every way, except what it broke inside me. I came home late, as usual, nearly midnight. The house was dark except for a light in the kitchen. Sarah sat at the table, a cup of tea cooling in front of her. "We need to talk," she said. 4 words that change everything. I felt my stomach drop. "Okay," I said, sitting down across from her. She looked older than her 39 years. Tired. Worn down. I can't do this anymore. Do what? This, us, pretending we're a family when you're never here. I've been busy, you know that, this new merger. It's taking all my time, but it'll settle down soon. You've been saying that for 15 years, Michael. It never settles down. It only gets worse. That's not fair. Everything I do for us. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Do you even hear yourself? You're never here. You missed Daniel's last 3 birthdays. You weren't there when Emma fell off her bike and broke her arm. You didn't even notice when I cut my hair last month. I looked at her hair. It was shorter. I hadn't noticed. I'm sorry, I said, because I didn't know what else to say. I don't want apologies anymore. I want a partner, a husband, a father for our children, and you're none of those things. That's not true, isn't it? When was the last time you had a conversation with Daniel that didn't involve you lecturing him about grades or responsibility? When was the last time you read Emma a bedtime story? When was the last time you looked at me, really looked at me, and saw a person instead of just the woman who handles everything so you don't have to? Each question was a knife, and they all hit their marks. I don't know what you want me to do, I said, and I meant it. I was lost. I want you to choose, she said. Really choose. Not with words, with actions. Choose your family, show up, be present, or let us go. Let you go? I can't live like this anymore, Michael. Neither can the kids. We deserve better. She stood up, left her tea on the table, went upstairs. I sat there alone in the dark kitchen for a long time. The refrigerator hummed, the clock ticked, the house settled around me, a house I'd paid for, but never really lived in. I should have changed then. That should have been my wake-up call. But fear is a powerful thing. Fear of losing my position, my reputation, my identity. Because somewhere along the way, I'd become my job. It was all I had, all I knew how to be. So I didn't change. I kept working, kept traveling, kept choosing everything except what mattered. Sarah filed for divorce 6 months later. Part 2. The Rise and the Fall. The divorce papers arrived at my office on a Wednesday afternoon. My secretary brought them in with a regular mail, not knowing what they were. I signed for them mechanically, then sat at my desk, staring at the envelope for 20 minutes. Sarah was asking for primary custody. I'd have visitation rights, every other weekend, 1 weeknight for dinner. Holidays to be negotiated. Standard stuff, the lawyer said when I called him. Very reasonable under the circumstances. Under the circumstances. The circumstances being that I'd been an absent father for over a decade. I should have fought it, should have pleaded, begged, promised to change. But a part of me knew Sarah was right. The kids would be better off with her. They always had been. I signed the papers. We did mediation, not a court battle. We were civil, polite, like strangers dividing up property, not 2 people who'd once promised forever. The house went to Sarah and the kids. I moved into a downtown apartment, 2 bedrooms, because I'd have Daniel and Emma every other weekend. I furnished it with things from catalogs. Impersonal. Temporary. Like I was staying in a hotel in my own life. Daniel was 13 by then. Emma was 9. They adapted to the new arrangement the way kids do, with a resilience I didn't deserve. The first weekend they came to stay, I didn't know what to do with them. I'd never spent extended time alone with my children. Sarah had always been there as a buffer, a translator, a guide. What do you guys want to do? I asked. Daniel shrugged. Emma played with her phone. We went to a movie, sat in the dark for 2 hours, not talking, ate popcorn, went back to the apartment. They did homework, watched TV, went to bed early. Sunday morning they were packed and waiting by the door an hour before Sarah was supposed to pick them up. You don't have to leave yet, I said. It's okay, Daniel said. Mom's probably waiting. She wasn't. They just wanted to leave. I could see it in their eyes. They were doing their duty, serving their time, counting the hours until they could go home. Home, which was no longer anywhere I lived. This became our routine. Every other weekend they'd come to the apartment. We'd do something. Movies, restaurants, museums, things that required minimal conversation. They were polite, distant. Like I was a relative they saw occasionally out of obligation, not their father. I threw myself into work even harder. At least there I knew who I was. I was valuable, respected, needed. I made senior vice president that year, corner office upgraded to executive suite, my name on the building directory, everything I'd sacrificed for. But at night, alone in my apartment, I'd sit by the window and wonder if it had been worth it. The quiet was different than the quiet I'd grown used to at home. This wasn't comfortable silence. This was emptiness. Years passed. Daniel went to high school, stopped coming to my apartment altogether, said he was busy with school, with friends, with soccer. Sarah didn't push it, neither did I. What could I say, that he owed me his time? I hadn't earned it. Emma still came, but only because Sarah made her. I could tell she'd rather be anywhere else. She'd bring her earbuds, her phone, her homework. She'd be physically present but mentally 1,000 miles away. I tried. I did try. Planned special outings. Bought gifts. Took them on vacation to Disney World one summer. They smiled for the photos, but it was performative. They were going through the motions for their mother's sake, not mine. Did you have fun? I asked Emma on the flight home. Yeah, she said, not looking up from her phone. Thanks. Thanks. Like I was a tour guide who'd shown her around, not her father trying desperately to connect. Daniel graduated high school when he was 18. I'd been invited to the ceremony, of course. Sat in the bleachers with hundreds of other parents. Sarah was there with her new boyfriend, Tom, a high school teacher, patient, kind, the kind of man who probably never missed a school play. They sat together, laughed together. When Daniel walked across the stage to get his diploma, Tom cheered as loud as Sarah did. Like he had a right to. I clapped politely, took photos from too far away. After the ceremony, there was a party at Sarah's house. I wasn't invited. Daniel hugged me quickly in the parking lot. Thanks for coming, he said. I'm proud of you, I replied. Where are you going to college? Michigan, engineering program. That's great, really great. An awkward pause. I should get to the party. Lots of people waiting. Of course. We should have dinner sometime this summer before you leave. Yeah, maybe. I'll text you. He never did. He left for Michigan in August. I helped him move in, carried boxes to his dorm room. His roommate's parents were there too, a couple from Ohio. They talked about how proud they were, how much they'd miss him, how they'd visit every month. I stood in the corner, feeling like an intruder in my own son's life. On the drive back home, I stopped at a rest area. Sat in my car and cried for the first time in 20 years. Big, ugly sobs that came from somewhere deep and broken. I'd lost him, not in a moment, but in 1,000 tiny moments I'd chosen to miss, and there was no getting them back. Emma was different. She was angrier. Where Daniel had gone quiet, pulling away, Emma pushed back. We fought constantly during her teenage years. You can't tell me what to do, what? She'd yell. You're barely even here. I'm your father, in name only. Tom's more of a father than you've ever been. That hurt more than anything else she could have said, because it was true. She started calling him Dad. Not to my face, but I heard it once when I picked her up from school early. She was talking to a friend. I have to go. My mom's boyfriend, well, my dad basically, is picking me up for a dental appointment. I sat in the car, hands on the wheel, trying to breathe. Another man was raising my daughter, not because he'd taken her from me, because I'd let her go. Emma graduated high school 3 years after Daniel. I went to the ceremony, sat alone this time, several rows back, took photos that would sit forgotten on my phone. She didn't hug me after, just nodded acknowledgement, then disappeared into the crowd of classmates. She went to college in California, as far from me as she could get without leaving the country. We talked maybe once a month, brief calls, transactional. How's school? Fine. Do you need anything? No. Okay, we'll call if you do. Sure. We'd run out of things to say to each other. Maybe we'd never had much to say to begin with. I was 53 when my father died. Heart attack, sudden. He was 76, healthy one day, gone the next. We hadn't been close. He'd been a lot like me, actually. Worked long hours, provided well, wasn't around much. I'd never thought about it before, the parallel between us. But standing at his funeral, Looking at the small crowd of coworkers and distant relatives, I saw my future. This would be my funeral one day. Colleagues paying respects out of obligation, children sitting in the back row, dry-eyed, waiting for it to be over. I made a promise to myself that day. Things would change. I'd reach out more. Be more present. Build real relationships with Daniel and Emma. But promises made at funerals are like New Year's resolutions, full of intention, empty of follow-through. I texted Daniel more often. He texted back occasionally. Short responses. I called Emma weekly. She rarely answered. When she did, our conversations were stilted, awkward. I didn't know how to talk to her. Didn't know her favorite foods, bees, her hobbies, her dreams. She was a stranger who had my eyes. Work remained my constant. I made executive vice president. My salary crossed into 7 figures. I had a driver, an assistant, an expense account that could have fed a small country. But I ate most dinners alone at my desk, working until the cleaning crew arrived. My 60th birthday passed quietly. No party, no celebration. Sarah sent a card, probably Emma's idea. Daniel sent a text. "Happy birthday, Dad." I went to an expensive restaurant alone, ordered a steak, a bottle of wine. The waiter brought out a small cake with a single candle. "Happy birthday," he said cheerfully. "Thank you. Anyone joining you?" "No, just me." He smiled sympathetically, left the cake. I sat there looking at the candle, making a wish out of habit. What do you wish for when you have everything except what matters? I wished to go back, to do it all differently, to choose differently. But wishes don't work that way. Daniel got married when he was 26. I got the invitation in the mail. Nice cardstock, elegant font. "Michael Thornton and Emma Chen request the honor of your presence." I wasn't invited to help plan, wasn't asked to give input. Sarah and Tom handled everything. I was a guest at my own son's wedding. The ceremony was beautiful. Daniel looked handsome in his suit. His bride was lovely, a structural engineer he'd met at work. They looked at each other the way Sarah and I once had, before I broke us. I sat in the 3rd row. Sarah and Tom were in the 1st. When the officiant asked, "Who gives this woman to be married?" Tom stood up. "With Emma's parents. My son was being given away, and I wasn't part of it." During the reception, I tried to talk to Daniel, congratulate him properly. He was polite, gracious even, but his attention kept drifting. To his bride, to his friends, to anyone but me. "I'm really happy for you," I said. "Thanks, Dad. That means a lot." But his eyes said otherwise. They said it was too late for my opinion to matter. Emma was the maid of honor. She gave a beautiful speech about Daniel, about growing up with him, about the man he'd become. She mentioned their mother, mentioned Tom, didn't mention me once. I left the reception early, told myself I was tired, but really I couldn't bear to be in a room where I was so clearly unnecessary. The years continued. Daniel and his wife had a baby, my first grandchild, a girl. They named her Sophie. I got the announcement in the mail, a photo card. "Proud to announce the arrival of Sophie Grace Thornton." I sent a gift, an expensive bassinet from a high-end baby store. Sarah told me later they'd returned it, used the store credit for things they actually needed, things I would have known they needed if I'd asked. I saw Sophie exactly 3 times in her first year. Brief visits, scheduled weeks in advance. I didn't know how to hold a baby anymore. Felt like I'd forgotten, or maybe I'd never really known. Daniel's wife, Emma Chen, was kind but guarded around me. She knew my history, knew what kind of father I'd been. She was protecting her daughter from the same disappointment. "Would you like to hold her?" she offered during one visit. "I don't want to impose." "It's not an imposition. She's your granddaughter." I held Sophie awkwardly, afraid I'd drop her, afraid I'd do it wrong. She looked up at me with dark eyes, curious, unaware of all the ways I'd failed her father. "She's beautiful," I said. "She is," Emma Chen agreed. "Daniel's a wonderful father. He's nothing like, well, he's very hands-on." The implication was clear. He's everything I wasn't. Emma, my daughter, graduated college and moved to New York. Got a job in marketing, rented an apartment in Brooklyn with 3 roommates. She called to tell me she'd graduated, and I offered to fly out for the ceremony. It's really not necessary, she said. It's not a big deal. Of course it is. It's your college graduation. I just mean you don't have to come. I know you're busy. I'm not that busy. I want to be there. Silence on the line. Then, honestly, Dad, I'd rather you didn't. It'll just be weird. That hurt, but I couldn't argue. I'd made it weird, made myself an outsider in her life. Okay, I said. But I'm proud of you. Thanks. She hung up. I stared at my phone, at the call duration. 2 minutes, 14 seconds. That's how long it took to confirm I'd lost my daughter, too. The years blurred. I worked. I traveled. I accumulated wealth and accolades and meaningless achievements. I was named CEO when I was 63. Youngest CEO in the company's history. My face was in business magazines. I was quoted in articles about success, about leadership, about what it takes to make it to the top. But I went home to an empty apartment every night. Ate meals alone. Fell asleep to the sound of strangers' voices on television because the silence was too heavy to bear. I had everything I'd worked for, and nothing that mattered. My wake-up call should have come sooner. Should have come when Sarah left, when Daniel stopped visiting, when Emma told me not to come to her graduation. But wake-up calls don't work if you're determined to stay asleep. And I was very, very good at staying asleep. The real wake-up came on a Monday morning. I was 65. I'd just returned from a business trip to Singapore. Jet-lagged, exhausted, running on coffee and spite. I was in a meeting when I felt it. A pressure in my chest, tightness spreading down my left arm. The room started to spin. "Michael, are you okay?" someone asked. Their voice sounded far away. "I'm fine," I said. But I wasn't. The pressure intensified. I couldn't catch my breath. The next thing I knew, I was on the floor. People crowded around me. Someone called 911. I heard sirens, felt hands on me, saw fluorescent lights rushing past overhead. Heart attack. Mild, the doctor said later. But a warning. My heart was damaged. I needed to slow down, reduce stress, change my lifestyle. I lay in that hospital bed, hooked to machines, and waited for someone to visit. My assistant came, brought my laptop and a stack of papers to sign. "The office is handling everything," she assured me. "Don't worry about a thing." The office, not my family. The office. Sarah sent flowers. A card that said, "Get well soon." No visit. Daniel called. "Dad, I heard. Are you okay?" "I'm fine, just a little scared." "Do you need anything?" "No, I'm okay." "All right, well, take care of yourself." He hung up. Didn't offer to visit. Why would he? We weren't that kind of family. We weren't really family at all anymore. Emma didn't call, didn't text. I wondered if anyone had told her, or if she just didn't care. I spent 3 days in that hospital room, alone. Nurses came and went, doctors checked my charts, but no one sat with me. No one held my hand. No one looked worried or relieved or anything beyond professionally concerned. On the 3rd day, a volunteer came by. An older woman, maybe 70, with kind eyes and gray hair. "How are you feeling today?" she asked. "Better, thank you." "Do you need anything, someone to talk to?" I almost said no, but something in her face, in her genuine kindness, broke something open in me. "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Of course. Do you have children?" 3, she said, smiling. "And 7 grandchildren." "Are you close?" "Very. They're my whole world." I nodded, felt my throat tighten. "That's nice." She pulled up a chair, sat beside my bed. "What's troubling you?" And for some reason I told her everything. The divorce, the missed moments, the distance, the fact that I'd almost died and no one came, the fact that I had children and grandchildren, but I might as well be childless. She listened quietly, didn't judge. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "It's not too late," she said finally. "Isn't it? Maybe too late for some things, but not for everything. You can't get back the past. But you still have today, tomorrow, however many days you have left. The question is what you're going to do with them. They won't forgive me. Maybe not, but that's not what matters. What matters is whether you can forgive yourself, and whether you can be the person they needed, even if it's 20 years too late." She patted my hand, stood up. "Think about it. You have time. Not a lot, none of us do, but enough to try." She left. I lay there thinking about what she'd said. About time. About enough. I was 65. Statistically, I had maybe 15 good years left. Maybe 20 if I was lucky. That was it. That was all the time I had to fix what I'd broken. To be a father, a grandfather, a person worth knowing. I could keep working, keep accumulating, keep dying alone in hotel rooms and hospital beds. Or I could try, really try, knowing I might fail, knowing they might never forgive me, knowing it might be too little, too late. But at least I'd have tried. I called my assistant from the hospital bed. "Clear my schedule," I said. "For how long?" "Indefinitely." "I'm sorry. I'm taking a leave of absence, medical leave. However long it takes." "But the merger, the Singapore deal, your speech at the conference next month, someone else can handle it." There was shocked silence on the line. I'd never, in 40 years, told them someone else could handle it. "Are you sure?" she asked. "I'm sure." I hung up, called Daniel. "Hey," he said, surprised. "You okay?" "I need to talk to you. And Emma, can you both come, please?" Another pause. "Yeah, okay. I'll call her. We can be there tomorrow." "Thank you." I hung up and lay back against the pillows. My heart was damaged. But maybe, just maybe, it wasn't broken beyond repair. Part 3. The breaking point. They came the next afternoon, Daniel and Emma. Together but sitting on opposite sides of my hospital room, united in their wariness of me. Emma looked different. Her hair was shorter, dyed a dark red. She had tattoos I'd never seen before, a sleeve of flowers running down her left arm. She wore dark eyeliner, black jeans. She looked like someone I didn't know, which I supposed she was. Daniel had aged. He was only 31, but there were lines around his eyes. The weight of responsibility, of being a good father, a good husband, the weight I'd never carried. "Thanks for coming," I said. Emma crossed her arms. "What's this about, Dad?" Daniel said it was urgent. I wanted to apologize. Silence. They looked at each other, then back at me. "Okay," Daniel said slowly. "For what exactly?" "Everything. For not being there. For choosing work over you over and over. For missing your childhoods. For being a stranger instead of a father." More silence. Emma's face was unreadable. Daniel's showed something like pain. "Why now?" Emma asked. "Because you had a heart attack? Because you're scared of dying alone?" "Yes," I said honestly. "And because I finally understand what I've lost, what I threw away." "You didn't throw it away," Daniel said quietly. "You traded it for success, for money, for whatever it was you thought was more important than us." "I know." "Do you?" Emma's voice was sharp. "Do you actually know what it felt like to wait for you at school pickup, watching other kids go home with their dads while Mom explained you were working? To sit in the front row at my recital, with an empty seat beside Mom because you couldn't be bothered to show up? To stop expecting you and then feel pathetic when you did show up and I realized I was still hoping?" Her words hit like physical blows. I deserved every one. "No," I said. "I can't know how that felt. But I'm sorry. I know that's not enough. I know sorry is just a word, but I'm saying it anyway because I need you to know I see it now. I see what I did." "What do you want from us?" Daniel asked. "Nothing. I don't want anything. I just wanted to say I'm sorry and that I'm going to try to be better. Whether you give me a chance or not, I'm going to try." "Better how?" Emma challenged. "You've been saying you'll be better my whole life. Why should we believe you now?" "You shouldn't. I haven't earned your belief. But I'm taking leave from work, indefinite leave. I'm going to slow down, actually slow down. And I'd like, if you're willing, to see you more, to get to know you, both of you. And Sophie, if Daniel's okay with that." Daniel looked down at his hands. "Sophie's almost 2 now. She barely knows you." "I know. You can't just show up and expect her to call you Grandpa." "I don't expect anything. I just want a chance to be in her life, in your lives, however small that is." Emma stood up abruptly. "I need air." She walked out of the room without looking back. Daniel stayed. We sat in uncomfortable silence. "She's angrier than me," he said finally. "She wore her heart on her sleeve as a kid. You broke it more times than she could count. And you?" "I learned early not to expect anything. Easier that way." "That's worse," I said. "Somehow that's worse." He shrugged. "It's just how it is. Daniel, I know I can't fix the past. But can I try with the present?" He was quiet for a long time. "I don't know, Dad. I have a family now. A daughter. I can't let you hurt her the way you hurt us. I understand. But, he continued, I also don't want to be like you. I don't want to look back at 70 and realize I was holding a grudge that didn't serve anyone. So yeah, you can try, but I'm not promising anything. That's more than I deserve. He stood up. I'll talk to Emma. She might come around. Might not. She's stubborn. Gets that from me, I suppose. A small smile. Yeah, she does. After he left, I lay there feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Small, fragile, but there. Emma didn't come around. Not right away. She called a week later, after I'd been discharged from the hospital. Daniel says you're serious about this, she said. No preamble. I am. I don't trust you. I know. And I don't know if I want you in my life. You've been absent for so long, having you suddenly present feels like whiplash. I understand. I'm not trying to force anything. I just wanted you to know the door's open, on my end, if you ever want to walk through it. She was quiet. Then, why didn't you choose us? Back then, what was so important that we weren't worth your time? It was the question I'd been asking myself for weeks. I don't have a good answer. I thought I was building something for you, a future, security. But really, I think I was just scared. Of what? Of being ordinary, of not mattering. The work made me feel important, needed. At home, I didn't know how to be. I didn't know how to be a father, so I avoided it. Told myself I was doing it for you, but really, I was doing it for me. That's a shitty reason. It is. More silence. Then, I have to go. I have a work thing. Okay, thank you for calling. Yeah. She hung up. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was contact. It was something. I sold my apartment and moved to a smaller place closer to Daniel's house. 1 bedroom. Simple. I didn't need space for an office anymore. Didn't need to impress anyone. I asked Daniel if I could visit Sophie. He said yes, but his wife would be there. Understandable. I was essentially a stranger. The first visit was awkward. I brought a toy, a stuffed elephant. Sophie looked at it, then at me, suspicious. What do you say, Sophie? Her mother prompted. Thank you, Sophie said quietly. More silence. Then, I have to go. I have a work thing. Okay, thank you for calling. Yeah. She hung up. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was contact. It was something, and I sold my apartment and moved to a smaller place closer to Daniel's house. 1 bedroom. Simple. I didn't need space for an office anymore. Didn't need to impress anyone. I asked Daniel if I could visit Sophie. He said yes, but his wife would be there. Understandable. I was essentially a stranger. The first visit was awkward. I brought a toy, a stuffed elephant. Sophie looked at it, then at me, suspicious. What do you say, Sophie? Her mother prompted. Thank you, Sophie said quietly. You're welcome, sweetheart. She took the elephant and went back to her coloring books. I sat on the couch watching her. She was beautiful. Daniel's eyes, her mother's smile. She'll warm up, Daniel's wife said kindly. She's shy with new people. New people. I was new people to my own granddaughter. Take your time, I said. I visited every week. Sometimes Sophie ignored me. Sometimes she'd show me her coloring. Small steps, building trust that should have been there from the beginning but wasn't. One day, about 2 months in, she brought me a book. Read? She asked. I looked at Daniel. He nodded. I read her the book. She sat next to me, close enough that I could smell her shampoo, sweet and clean. When I finished, she said, again. I read it again, and again, 5 times total. My heart felt full, in a way it never had with quarterly reports or profit margins. When it was time for me to leave, she waved. Bye, Grandpa. It was the first time she'd called me that. I almost broke down in the driveway. Emma didn't visit, didn't call. Months passed. I sent her cards on her birthday, on Christmas. Short notes, no pressure, just letting her know I was thinking of her. I didn't know if she read them, didn't know if she threw them away, but I kept sending them. I started therapy. Something I should have done decades ago. Sat in an office with a woman named Dr. Chen, no relation to Daniel's wife, and talked about my life. My regrets, my failures. You're carrying a lot of guilt, she observed. I should be. Guilt can be useful if it motivates change, but it can also be paralyzing. Have you forgiven yourself? No. Why not? Because I don't deserve forgiveness. According to whom? According to my kids. According to anyone with a conscience. She leaned back. Forgiveness isn't about deserving. It's about releasing. You're holding on to this guilt so tightly, you can't move forward. Can't be the person you want to be now. I don't know how to let it go. Start by acknowledging you did the best you could with what you knew at the time. That's a cop-out. Is it, or is it the truth? You made choices based on what you valued then. You were wrong, you know that now. But you can't go back and unmake those choices. You can only make different ones going forward. She was right. I knew she was right, but knowing and feeling are different things. Daniel invited me to Sophie's 3rd birthday party. Just family, he said, small gathering. I could come if I wanted. I wanted. The party was at their house. Balloons, a homemade cake, a small pile of presents. Sarah was there, and Tom. They nodded at me politely. No warmth, but no hostility either. We'd all moved past that. Sophie ran around in a pink dress, high on sugar and attention. She saw me and ran over. Grandpa, you came? Of course I came, sweetheart. Happy birthday. She hugged my legs, then ran off to show someone her new doll. It was a brief moment, but it mattered. These tiny moments, I was learning, they mattered more than anything. Emma showed up halfway through the party. I didn't know she'd be there. Daniel hadn't mentioned it. She walked in, saw me, froze. Hi, I said carefully. Hi, she replied. We stood there awkwardly. Then Sophie ran up to Emma. Auntie Em. Emma scooped her up, spun her around. Watching them together, I saw what I'd missed. Emma was good with Sophie, patient, present, everything I hadn't been. Later, when Sophie was opening presents, Emma sat next to me on the couch, not close, but not far either. You came, she said. Daniel invited me. He didn't tell me you'd be here. Is that a problem? She was quiet for a moment. No, I guess not. We watched Sophie tear through wrapping paper, squealing with delight at each gift. She's lucky, Emma said softly, to have Daniel as a dad. She is. He never does what you did. He's always there. Every recital, every doctor's appointment. Even when he's exhausted from work, he shows up. He learned from my mistakes. He learned what not to do. It stung, but it was true. I'm glad. I'm glad he's a better father than I was. Emma looked at me. You're really trying, aren't you? This isn't just guilt. You actually mean it. I do. Why now? Why not 10 years ago? 20? I don't know. Pride, fear, stupidity, all of the above. But I'm here now, and I know that doesn't erase anything, but it's all I have. Now, she nodded slowly. I'm still angry. You should be. But I'm tired of being angry. It's exhausting. You don't have to not be angry. You don't owe me anything. I know I don't. She paused. Maybe we could get coffee sometime, just talk. My heart jumped. I'd like that. Don't get excited. I'm not promising anything. I know. But maybe coffee. Whenever you're ready. She stayed for the rest of the party. We didn't talk much more, but we were in the same room. It was a start, that night, lying in my small apartment. I thought about what Dr. Chen had said. About forgiving myself. About releasing the guilt. I wasn't there yet. Might never be. But I was trying. And for the first time in my life, trying felt more important than succeeding. The coffee date with Emma happened 3 weeks later. A small cafe in her neighborhood in Brooklyn. I took the train from Connecticut, arrived early, waited at a corner table. She showed up 10 minutes late, rushed, apologetic. Sorry, the subway was a nightmare. It's okay. I ordered you a latte. Oat milk, right? She looked surprised. Yeah. How'd you know? Daniel mentioned it once. She sat down, took a sip. We sat in silence for a moment. This is weird, she said. Very. I don't know what to say to you. That's okay. We don't have to say anything. But she wanted to talk. I could see it. The words were building up behind her eyes. I used to practice speeches, she said finally. In my head, all the things I'd say if I ever got the chance. How you ruined my childhood. How I couldn't trust men because of you. how I had anxiety and commitment issues, and all of it traced back to you not showing up. Is that true? Some of it. My therapist says I can't blame everything on you, that I have agency in my own life, but you definitely didn't help. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing, it's not helpful. What would be helpful? She thought about it. Listening. Just listen. So I did. For 2 hours, I listened. She told me about growing up, about the recitals I missed, about her first heartbreak, and how she called Mom crying, wished she could call me but didn't know how, about her college years, about the time she almost dropped out because she was so depressed, and she wanted to call me but was too proud. She told me about her job, which she loved, about her apartment, her roommates, about a guy she was seeing, nothing serious, but she liked him. She told me about the version of me she'd built in her head, the father who was out there, somewhere, being brilliant and important, and how that fantasy father was almost better than the real one because at least the fantasy didn't disappoint her over and over. But he wasn't real, she said. And I had to grieve that, had to accept that you were who you were, and that it had nothing to do with me, that I wasn't unlovable, you were just unavailable. You were never unlovable. You were perfect. You are perfect. She smiled sadly. I'm not. I'm kind of a mess, but I'm working on it. Aren't we all? When we parted ways, she hugged me. Quick, tentative, but a hug. Same time next month? She asked. I'd love that. And maybe you could come to New York. I'll show you my neighborhood. I'd like that too. She left. I sat in the cafe for a while longer, feeling something shift. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was connection, and that was enough. The next year passed quietly. I saw Daniel and Sophie regularly. Weekly visits, reading books, playing in the park, building blocks on the living room floor. Simple things that felt monumental. I visited Emma in New York every month. Sometimes we got coffee. Sometimes we walked through Prospect Park. Once, she invited me to her apartment, introduced me to her roommates. It was a tiny place, cramped, full of mismatched furniture and young people's chaos. It was wonderful. I met the guy she was seeing, nice kid, mid-20s, worked in tech. He was nervous around me, which was funny because I was the one who should have been nervous. He was the one who got to know my daughter in ways I never had. What are your intentions? I asked him, only half joking. Emma rolled her eyes. Dad, seriously? Just looking out for you. 25 years too late, but okay. We all laughed. It was the first time she'd joked about it. A good sign. I retired officially when I was 67, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. The company threw a big party. Speeches about my contributions, a plaque, a watch, all the trappings of a successful career. But the only people I cared about seeing were in the third row. Daniel, Emma, Sophie. They came. That meant more than any plaque. In my retirement speech, I didn't talk about business strategies or market expansions. I talked about time, about how we spend it, about what we trade it for, about getting to the end and realizing you spent it on the wrong things. I was successful by every traditional measure, I said, but I failed at the most important job I ever had. Being a father. I'm not standing here to tell you not to work hard. Work hard. Build things. Be ambitious. But don't do what I did. Don't trade your family for your career, because when you're old and sick and alone, the career won't hold your hand, the promotions won't visit you, the accolades won't care. The room was silent. People shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't the triumphant victory speech they'd expected. I'm grateful for my time here, I continued, but I'm more grateful for the time I have left. To be a grandfather, to be a father, to be a person instead of a title. I stepped down. The applause was polite but confused. Daniel caught my eye, gave me a small nod. That was the only applause that mattered. That night, we all went to dinner. Me, Daniel, his wife, Emma, Sophie. A real family dinner. Sophie sat next to me, told me about her day at preschool with the unself-conscious enthusiasm of a 4-year-old. Emma and Daniel talked about their lives, included me in the conversation. Not performatively, genuinely. For the first time and maybe ever, I felt like I belonged. Walking home that night, I thought about Sarah, wondered if she knew, if Daniel had told her about our growing relationship. Part of me wanted to thank her for raising our children when I wouldn't, for being strong enough to leave when I wouldn't change, for giving them Tom, who by all accounts was a good man, a good father figure. I called her the next day. We hadn't spoken in years beyond logistics. "Hello?" She sounded surprised. "Hi, Sarah. It's Michael." "I know. Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine. I just wanted to thank you." "For what?" "For raising our kids, for being there when I wasn't, for being strong enough to leave when you should have." Silence on the line. Then, softly, "That's unexpected. I know I can't change the past, can't take back the years I wasted, but I'm trying now, with Daniel and Emma, and it's because of you, because you gave them a foundation I never did. They're good people despite you, not because of you. I know, and I'm grateful. For Tom, too. He was the father they needed." More silence. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you deserve to hear it. 20 years ago. But better late than never, I suppose." "Late is an understatement, Michael." "I know." She sighed. "I'm glad you're trying. For their sake. They deserve a father who shows up, even if it's late." "Thank you." "Don't thank me, just keep showing up. That's all I ever wanted you to do." We hung up. It wasn't closure, but it was acknowledgement. It was truth. The years continued. I grew older, slower. My heart was damaged, permanently, but stable. I took my medications, went to my appointments, lived carefully. Sophie grew. 5, 6, 7. I went to her school plays, her art shows, her soccer games. I was there, in the stands, cheering, taking photos, doing what I should have done decades ago. Emma got serious with her boyfriend, then engaged. She called to tell me. "I want you at the wedding," she said. "Not just as a guest. To walk me down the aisle if you want." I couldn't speak for a moment. "Are you sure?" "Tom offered, and I love him, but you're my dad, for better or worse." "Mostly worse, but still." "I'd be honored." "Don't make me regret this." "I won't." The wedding was beautiful. Emma looked radiant, happy. Her fiancé was a good man, I could tell. The way he looked at her, listened to her, was present with her, everything she deserved. When it was time for me to walk her down the aisle, she took my arm. "Don't trip," she whispered. "I won't. And don't cry." No promises. I cried, couldn't help it. This was my daughter, this woman I barely knew but loved with everything I had, this woman who'd given me a second chance I didn't deserve. When we reached the altar, the officiant asked, "Who gives this woman to be married?" "I do," I said. And then, louder, "And her mother and everyone who loved her when I couldn't." Emma's eyes filled with tears. She squeezed my hand. "Thanks, Dad." I took my seat next to Daniel. He put his hand on my shoulder. "You did good," he said. "Your mother did good. I just showed up." Better late than never. The reception was joyful. I danced with Emma, awkward and stumbling, but dancing. She laughed at my terrible rhythm. "You're the worst dancer," she said. "I am. I really am." "Good thing you're not bad at everything." "Am I good at something?" "You're getting better at being my dad." It was the greatest compliment I'd ever received. That night, tired and happy, I sat at a table watching my children dance. Sophie was spinning with her mother. Daniel was swaying with Emma's new husband, making him laugh. Emma was dancing with Tom, the man who'd been there for her when I wasn't. I didn't feel jealous. I felt grateful. Grateful they had people who loved them. Grateful I was included, even if I was late to the party. I was 73 years old. I'd lived most of my life wrong, but I was getting the end right, and maybe that counted for something. Part 4. Solitude and the Lessons Too Late Learned. The call came on a Tuesday morning in November. I was making coffee when my phone rang. Daniel's number. "Hey," I answered, cheerful. "What's up?" Silence. Then, "Dad, I need you to sit down." I sat. "What's wrong?" "It's Mom. She had a stroke last night. She's at Mercy Hospital." The world tilted. "Is she okay?" "She's stable, but it's serious. They're running tests." "I'm on my way." "Dad, wait. Tom's with her and us." The family's here. I'm calling because I thought you should know, but I don't know if you should come. She's the mother of my children. Of course I'm coming. I drove to the hospital, hands shaking on the wheel. Sarah. Sarah, who I'd loved and failed and left. Sarah, who'd raised our children alone. Sarah, who'd built a whole life without me. When I arrived, the waiting room was full. Daniel, Emma, Tom, Emma's husband, Sophie. A family I was part of but separate from. Tom saw me first. He stood, extended his hand. Michael. Tom, how is she? We don't know yet. The doctors are with her now. Can I see her? He hesitated. I don't think that's a good idea right now. Please, I won't stay long. I just need to see her. Tom looked at Daniel, who nodded. 5 minutes, Tom said. I went to her room. She was lying in the hospital bed, smaller than I remembered. Gray hair, pale skin, an oxygen tube in her nose. She looked fragile. Sarah had never been fragile. I sat beside her bed, took her hand carefully. She didn't wake up. Hi, I whispered. It's Michael. I know I'm probably the last person you want to see, but I needed to come, needed to say thank you for everything, for being strong, for raising our kids right, for being what I couldn't. Her eyelids fluttered but didn't open. I'm sorry for all of it, for not being the husband you deserved, for making you do it alone. You deserved so much better. A nurse came in. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step out. I nodded, stood. Take care of her. I left the room, went back to the waiting room. Tom was there. Thank you for letting me see her, I said. She'd have wanted it. Despite everything, she doesn't hate you. She just moved on. She should hate me. Maybe, but she doesn't. She's too good for that. We sat together for 6 hours, waiting for news. Daniel brought coffee. Emma paced. Sophie fell asleep in a chair, her head on her father's shoulder. Finally, a doctor came out. She's stable, he said. The stroke affected her left side. There's some paralysis. We don't know how much function she'll recover. It'll be a long recovery, months of physical therapy. She's going to need a lot of support. Tom nodded. She has it. Whatever she needs. Can we see her? Emma asked. Family only, 2 at a time. Tom and Emma went first, then Daniel and Emma's husband. Sophie stayed asleep. I stayed in the waiting room alone, not family in the way that counted. When they came back, Emma sat next to me. You can go in if you want, she said. She's awake. She asked about you. She did? Yeah, asked if you were here. I went back to her room. She was awake this time, her eyes tired but focused. Her left side drooped slightly, the stroke's mark. Hi, I said. Hi, she mumbled, words slurred. I'm sorry this happened. She tried to smile. It came out lopsided. Not your fault. Is there anything you need? She shook her head slightly. Tom, he's good. He is. He's taking care of you. Always did. A long pause. You should go. Family's here. Okay, but if you need anything, I won't. It wasn't cruel, just honest. She had a family. It didn't include me. I left, told Tom to call if there was anything I could do. He said he would, but we both knew he wouldn't. I drove home in the dark, hands tight on the wheel, feeling the weight of finality. Sarah would recover or she wouldn't. But either way, that chapter was closed. Had been closed for 20 years. I'd spent so long thinking about what I'd lost with my children. But Sarah, I'd lost her first. Lost her trust, her love, her partnership. She'd built a whole life without me. A good life. A full life. And I was a footnote in it. The father of her children. Nothing more. The weeks that followed were quiet. Sarah came home from the hospital. Tom set up a hospital bed in their living room. Physical therapists came daily. Daniel and Emma visited often, helped where they could. I sent flowers. Sarah sent a polite thank you card, written in Tom's handwriting. She couldn't write yet, might never write the same way again. I thought about visiting, but didn't. My presence would be intrusive. She had her family. I had my place, and it wasn't there. Instead, I focused on what I did have. Sophie's 8th birthday was coming up. I planned a special day, just the two of us. Daniel agreed. We went to the aquarium, her choice. She held my hand as we walked through the tunnels, sharks and rays swimming overhead. She told me about her school project, about her best friend, about the book she was reading. "Grandpa, do you think mermaids are real?" she asked. "I think if they were, they'd be pretty amazing. I think they're real, in the deep parts of the ocean where we haven't looked yet. Maybe you'll find them someday. Will you come with me?" "Absolutely." After the aquarium, we got ice cream. She got chocolate with gummy bears. I got vanilla, plain. We sat on a bench, watching people walk by. "Grandpa, were you a good dad?" she asked suddenly. The question caught me off guard. "No, I wasn't." "How come?" "I worked too much. I wasn't there for your dad and Aunt Emma. I thought work was more important than family." "That's sad." "It is. But you're a good grandpa." "I try to be." "You are. You always come to my stuff, and you read me books, and you let me pick chocolate even though Dad says I have too much sugar." I laughed. "Don't tell him I let you pick chocolate." "I won't." She took another bite. "I love you, Grandpa." My throat tightened. "I love you too, sweetheart." When I dropped her back home, she ran to the door, turned, "P-man." I waved back, feeling the weight of love and loss. I'd missed this with Daniel and Emma, these simple, perfect moments, but I had them with Sophie, and I'd never take them for granted. Winter came. I turned 74. No big celebration, just dinner with Daniel's family and Emma. They gave me a photo album they'd put together, pictures of the last few years, me reading to Sophie, dancing at Emma's wedding, laughing at Daniel's birthday dinner. "Look at all the memories we're making," Emma said. I flipped through the pages. All these moments I'd been present for. It wasn't a lifetime, but it was something. "Thank you," I said. That night, alone in my apartment, I added the album to my bookshelf. Next to it were photo albums from decades ago. Daniel and Emma as babies, Sarah young and beautiful, the life I'd had and wasted. I took down one of the old albums, flipped through it. Daniel's first birthday. Me in the background, talking on my phone. Emma's ballet recital. My seat empty. Christmas mornings where I'm not in the photos because I was taking them. Always behind the camera, never in the moment. I closed the album, put it back, picked up the new one. This one, I was in the photos, laughing, playing, present, not perfect, not enough to erase the past, but something. Spring arrived. I started having chest pains again. Wow. Went to the doctor. More tests, more medications. My heart was weakening and not dangerously yet, but the trend was clear. "You've got good years left," the doctor said, "but you need to take it easy." I am taking it easy. Easier. No stress. Rest. Enjoy your time. I was already doing that, but the implication was clear. Time was running out. I called Daniel that night. "Can I take you and Emma to dinner? Soon? Next week maybe?" "Sure, everything okay?" "Everything's fine. I just want to see you both." We met at a nice restaurant. Italian. The same place Sarah and I had gone decades ago when I got my first big job. Full circle. Over pasta and wine, well, sparkling water for me, I told them about the doctor's visit. "Is it serious?" Emma asked, worried. "Not yet, but it will be eventually. Everyone's clock runs out. Mine's just ticking louder now." "Don't talk like that," Daniel said. "I'm not being morbid, just realistic. And I wanted to tell you both, while I can, how proud I am of you." "Dad," Emma started. Let me finish. I know I don't have the right to be proud. I didn't earn it. But I am. You both turned out so well, despite me. Daniel, you're an incredible father. The father I should have been. And Emma, you're strong and successful, and you didn't let my failures define you. You both could have let bitterness poison you, but you didn't. You gave me chances I didn't deserve. And I'm grateful, more grateful than I know how to express." They were both quiet. Emma's eyes were wet. "You're being weird," she said, but she was smiling. "Old people are allowed to be weird." You're not that old, Daniel said. Old enough to know what matters. And you too matter, you and Emma and Sophie and your spouses. You're what matters, not the career, not the money, not any of it, just you. Emma reached across the table, took my hand. We know. Do you? Because I need you to know. When I'm gone, I need you to know that the best part of my life was the end. These last few years, being your dad, finally being your dad. You're not going anywhere yet, Daniel said firmly. Not yet, but someday. And when I do, I want you to remember this, that I loved you, that I was sorry, that I tried. We will, Emma said. We will. We finished dinner, talked about lighter things. Sophie's school play, Emma's new job promotion, normal family conversation. It felt precious, every minute of it. When we parted ways, they both hugged me, long, tight hugs. Love you, Dad, Daniel said. Love you too. Same, Emma added. You're still weird, though. Proudly. I watched them walk away, arms around each other, siblings who'd had to be each other's support when I wasn't there. They didn't need me anymore, but they wanted me, and that was a gift. The seasons passed. Another winter, another spring. I turned 75. Slower now, more careful, but still here. Sophie's 9th birthday. She wanted a science-themed party. I helped her with a volcano experiment that actually worked. She was thrilled. Grandpa, you're good at science. I'm okay, you're the smart one. I get it from you. You get it from your dad, and from yourself. You're your own person, Sophie. She hugged me, messy with baking soda and vinegar. I'm glad you're my grandpa. I'm glad too, sweetheart. Summer came. I spent a week at Daniel's house. They'd invited me to stay while they sorted out some renovations. I slept in the guest room, woke up to Sophie jumping on the bed. Grandpa, Dad's making pancakes. I made it to most of Sophie's soccer games that season. Sat in a lawn chair, cheered when she scored, consoled her when they lost. Normal grandparent things. Things I'd never done as a parent. Emma visited more often. She'd broken up with her husband. Amicably, she said. They wanted different things. She was sad but okay. We had coffee. I'm sorry it didn't work out, I said. Me too, but it's better to know now than 20 years from now. True. I think I have commitment issues. Probably from you. Probably. But I'm working on it. Therapy, all that. Good. You deserve happiness. So do you. I have happiness. I have you and Daniel and Sophie. That's all the happiness I need. She smiled. You've changed, old man. I have to. Running out of time to stay the same. Fall arrived again. The leaves turned. I felt the cold more now. Wore sweaters in September. My hands shook sometimes. Age, the doctor said. Normal. But I didn't feel normal. I felt fragile. Like I was coming undone slowly. I wrote letters. One to Daniel, one to Emma, one to Sophie for when she was older. Sealed them, put them in a drawer, just in case. The letters said the same thing in different words. I'm sorry. I love you. Don't make my mistakes. Be present. Time is shorter than you think. I didn't tell anyone about the letters. They'd worry or think I was being melodramatic. But I needed to write them. Needed to leave something behind besides regret. Thanksgiving. We all gathered at Daniel's house. Me, Daniel's family, Emma, Tom came with Sarah. She was doing better, walking with a cane. Speech improved. We nodded at each other across the table. Civil, friendly even. After dinner, Tom approached me. Can we talk? Of course. We stepped outside into the cold November air. I wanted to say something. Tom started. You're a good grandfather to Sophie, and a better father than you were before. I see the effort. I wanted you to know that it doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. I'm not saying I forgive everything. Not my place to forgive, but I see you trying, and that counts for something. I appreciate that. Sarah sees it too. She won't say it, but she does. She's glad you're in the kids' lives. Is she happy? With you? Very. I love her, and I've tried to be what you weren't. You have been. Thank you for that. For taking care of her, for being there for my kids when I couldn't. Someone had to. It wasn't said unkindly, just honestly. We went back inside. The family was playing board games. Sophie insisted I join. "Grandpa, you're on my team." We played, lost terribly. Sophie didn't care. She was laughing, happy. That was all that mattered. That night, lying in the guest room, I heard voices downstairs, Daniel and Emma talking. "He's changed," Emma said. "Really changed." "I know. It's weird. Good weird, though." "Yeah, I'm glad we gave him a chance." "Me too. I think Mom would be proud of us for not holding on to the anger." "Dad's proud of us." That's new too, him being proud, or at least saying it. They were quiet for a moment. Then Emma said, "I hope he knows we forgive him. I think he does." "Good." I fell asleep to their voices, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not absolution, not redemption, just peace. Winter again, colder this year, or maybe I just felt it more. I spent Christmas with Daniel's family. Sophie had grown so much. She was almost 10 now. Smart, funny, kind. "Everything good. What do you want for Christmas, Grandpa?" she asked. "I have everything I need." "You have to want something." "Okay, I want you to stay exactly as you are, kind and curious, and full of light." She rolled her eyes. "That's not a real present." "It's the best present." On Christmas morning, she gave me a drawing she'd made, a family portrait. Me, Daniel, his wife, Sophie, Emma, all of us together. "I made you the tallest," she said. "Thank you, sweetheart. I love it." I framed it, put it on my bedside table. It was the last thing I saw before I slept, and the first thing I saw when I woke. January came. February, March. Time moved differently now. Faster in some ways, slower in others. I was 76 when I had the second heart attack, bigger than the first. I was at home, alone, managed to call 911 before I passed out, woke up in the hospital. Daniel was there. Emma was flying in. "You scared us," Daniel said. "Sorry." "Don't be sorry, just rest." Emma arrived that evening, sat on the other side of the bed. They held my hands. "I'm okay," I said. But I wasn't. We all knew I wasn't. "We know," Emma said. "But we're here anyway." The doctor came in. More damage to the heart. I'd need surgery. Risky at my age. But without it, I had maybe a year. With it, maybe 5. "I want the surgery," I said. "Dad, you don't have to decide now," Daniel said. "I do. I want more time, however much I can get." The surgery was scheduled for the following week. In the days leading up to it, Daniel and Emma barely left my side. They brought Sophie to visit. She climbed carefully into the hospital bed, laid her head on my chest. "I don't want you to die," she said. "I'm not planning on it anytime soon." "Promise?" "I promise I'll try my best." The night before surgery, Emma stayed late. "Dad, I need to tell you something." "Okay." "I forgive you for everything. I don't know if I ever said that explicitly, but I do. I forgive you." My vision blurred with tears. "You don't have to. I know, but I want to. You're not the same person you were, and holding on to old anger doesn't serve anyone. Thank you. And I love you, in case I haven't said that enough." "You have, but I'll never get tired of hearing it." She kissed my forehead. "See you after surgery." "See you after." The surgery went well. Better than expected. I woke up in recovery, groggy but alive. Daniel and Emma were there, both crying with relief. "You made it," Daniel said. "Told you I would." Recovery was slow. Weeks in the hospital, more weeks of physical therapy. I moved slower now, tired easier. But I was alive. Sophie visited every day after school, did her homework in my room, told me about her day. Her presence was medicine stronger than anything the doctors prescribed. By summer, I was home, still weak but improving. Daniel insisted I come stay with them. "Just until you're stronger," he said. I stayed for 2 months. It was the best summer of my life. Breakfast with the family, dinners together, Sophie's bedtime stories, normal life, family life, the life I'd missed for so long. One evening, sitting on the porch with Daniel while Sophie played in the yard, he said, You know what's funny? What? This, all of it. 10 years ago, I never would have imagined us here. You living with us, being part of our daily life. Me neither. But it feels right. Like this is how it should have been all along. It is. I'm sorry it took so long. Yeah, well, you're here now. That's what matters. I watched Sophie chase fireflies, her laughter bright in the fading light. I don't deserve this second chance. Maybe not, but you have it anyway. Don't waste it. I won't. And I didn't. I spent every day being present, being grateful, being the person I should have been all along. I moved back to my apartment in the fall, but visited often. Weekly dinners, weekend visits, phone calls, just to check in. I was part of their rhythm now, part of their lives. Emma met someone new, a teacher, like Tom. She brought him to meet me. Dad, this is James. Nice to meet you, sir, James said, shaking my hand. You too. Treat her well. I intend to. They were good together. I could see it. The way he listened to her, he was present with her. She'd learned what to look for, what mattered. A year later, they got engaged. Another wedding. This one I helped plan, small ways. Emma asked my opinion on flowers, on music. I felt included, valued. You don't have to ask me, I said. This is your day. I know, but I want to. You're my dad. The wedding was beautiful, smaller than her first, more intimate. I walked her down the aisle again. This time felt different, like she wanted me there, not out of obligation, but choice. At the reception, we danced again. You're still a terrible dancer, she said. Some things never change, but some things do. You've changed, Dad. A lot. For the better, I hope. Definitely. She rested her head on my shoulder. We swayed slowly, out of rhythm with the music. But together, I'm proud of you, I said. I'm proud of you too. Time continued its march. I turned 78, then 79. Slower now, frailer, but still here. Sophie's 10th birthday. She was growing up so fast, almost as tall as me now. When I grow up, I want to be a scientist, she told me. You'll be a great one. Will you come to my graduation? From high school, I mean. That's in 8 years. I'll be 87. So, you'll be there, right? If I'm still around, absolutely. You'll be around. You're too stubborn to die, I laughed. You sound like your grandmother. Is that a compliment? The highest. I didn't know if I'd make it to her high school graduation, or her college graduation, or her wedding, but I'd make it to as many moments as I could. That was the promise I made to myself. Every day I woke up was a gift. A chance to be better, to love more, to show up. The regrets didn't disappear. They couldn't. I'd lost too much time, missed too many moments, hurt too many people. But regret doesn't have to be the end of the story. It can be the beginning. The wake-up call, the catalyst for change. I changed. Too late for some things, but not for everything. And in the end, that had to be enough.